So on the previous page, it was kind of killing me not to talk more about slope because I just like this form a lot more. So the slope again tells us how to move, and so it's the change in the y over the change in x, or a lot of times that's called rise over run. So how am I moving vertically, and how am I moving horizontally? So you've got a table down here, still talking about the cab drive, where uh, the x values are on top and the y values or cx are on bottom, and your job is to find the slope between them. So uh, the first x value is 0 comma 3.6, and the second coordinate is 2 comma 8.4. And what's nice is you only need two coordinates to find the slope, and these are in that form of x1 y1 x2 y2. And so you can label them whichever you want. I usually just make the smaller numbers the x1 and y1. So I'm going to label these x1, y1, and the second one's x2 and y2. And I'm just going to literally dump them straight into that formula. So again, I like to call it the skeleton step after this because especially when you have a bunch of negatives, it can get pretty tricky dealing with all the negatives. So I'm going to write two parentheses on top, two parentheses on bottom, and I'm going to fill in all those parentheses with my numbers. So I've got 8.4 minus 3.6. And again, you could have done 3.6 minus 8.4. Could have done any of these other points as well. I just picked the two smallest ones, so the math wasn't as bad. And then you've got 2 minus 0. So again, all those parentheses probably feel unnecessary, and they are. But when you have negatives, it'll be, in my opinion, easier to deal with from there. So when you subtract those, on top you get 4.8, and on bottom you get 2. A lot of times people just in in their rushing, they just uh, jump to 4.8 as the final answer, but you still have to divide that by 2 to get 2.4. And so to interpret what that means we're going up by 2.4 for every mile. And so notice these miles go up by 2, but it does not go up by 2.4. It actually goes up by 4.8. Okay, so since we went up 2 miles, I would have to double that slope. 4.8 again, 4.8 again, 4.8 again. And that's because we're going up by 2 between the x values up there. So kind of got to pay attention to how the x's are changing, because it's only 2.4 miles or $2.4, $2.40 for every mile. But when you look at the table, you're like, hey, it's not going up by 2.4 every time. It's going up by 4.8 because it's going up by 2 miles in the table.